Hi, good morning. So this is Dr. Womack. I just wanted to come on because it's Wednesday and I want to actually start doing a discussion on Wednesday to really get you thinking about what does wealth mean to you. So we'll call this Wealthy Wednesday. As a kid, I really didn't have a lot of money growing up. My mom had 8 kids. 5 were hers and 3 were adopted, but she was a CNA. She really, so our summers in our school time was really spent at home. We didn't travel much because, or if we did, it was maybe once a year to the local beach. We went fishing all the time. Like, those are most treasured memories that I have. I remember having to wear hand-me-down clothes, and even for prom, this is kind of more of a recent memory that I just kind of came back to me. As I was thinking about wealth, is I had to wear, like, my prom dresses were thrift store dresses, and it did in the moment. It really didn't matter to me because that was kind of like the way life was. But just kind of looking at how kids are nowadays, it's really different because their expectations are so high. Like, they expect to, it's because they're exposed to a lot more things and they think that they should have those things even if they haven't worked hard for them, even if their parents can't afford them. So the discussion I like to have is, what does wealth mean to you? Like, I'm from the 80s. I know that at this point it's more of, okay, you work hard and you get money, but I really want to get you to think about, how do you view wealth and how do we teach our kids how to view wealth and what is wealth, because everybody's definition is different. So $100 million to us might mean nothing to someone who's a billionaire. $1 million to someone might mean nothing to someone else. So some people value time more than they do money. Some people value being able to have um, financial freedom, living off grid, and being more self sufficient. So I think at this stage in my life, I'm really more concentrated on learning how to manage wealth. I think from my upbringing and not really having a lot of money, although now I'm more well off, I don't really know how to manage it. And so that's what I'm hoping, that exploring this idea with you will help for all of us to kind of know what wealth means, how to manage it, and also how to create it too. Because one of the things I found in my, how old am I? 39 years, I had to think about that for a second because it's next year is 40. So in my 39 years is, what's really important, and how do I manage it. And so I spent a lot of time researching that, whether or not it's being a business owner of a few companies, it's helping people to create their own companies or manage their own companies, to manage employees. So I'm really excited to be able to bring this discussion to the forefront on wealth on Wednesdays. And then other days we might have different things, because I got so many different things that I'm involved in, as far as being in the medical field, having my own medical practice. I have real estate, investment properties, as well as a lot of other things in terms of property, in which we'll get into later. I can't wait to dive into the real estate stuff because I really, really enjoy it. But also, just how to be a mentor, because I'm a mentor to a lot of people, whether or not it's my students or other people or to kids, teenagers. I really enjoy being able to service my community and to service the world. I'm an author, so I've published a few books. My most recent one is going to be coming out in the next couple of weeks, so I'm super excited about that. But just kind of going back into the wealthy part, Wealthy Wednesday, um, I think my definition of wealth now has changed over all of the years that I've been working, and even as a kid, because I didn't really know how to identify what that was. One of my most, I don't want to say traumatic memories of money, but one of my most memorable memories of money was when I was about maybe 10 or 11 years old, and I was in the seventh grade, and I wanted to be in the band. And I was so excited to be able to play the flute, and we had to we had to have $7. So I went to my mom and I said, "Hey mom, I need $7 for the band book." And she said, "Hey, go ask Gama." That's my grandma. My older sister, she couldn't say grandma, so she called her Gama. So all of us call her Gama. So I went up there on the dirt roads and just, hey, can I have $7? So my grandma, she had her moo on. She kind of went into the room and she got her big old, it was like the 5 gallon jug of, where you put the water in. It was empty, but she had a lot of change in there, and she poured it out on the bed, and she got the gold. They were like the gold dollar bills back then. They had like the gold coins that were actually dollar bills, and she picked out 7 of them and she handed them to me, and I was like, thank you so much. And I went back home, and then I went to school, gave it to them, to my teacher, and they gave me the book for band. And I remember going home and opening up the book and going through it and just being like, man, I can't wait, I'm so excited. And then the next day I went back and to school, and the teacher said, okay, so now we need to, give you the forms for your instruments. And I was going to be playing the flute. And so it was about $130, I remember. And I remember feeling like this sinking emotion of like despair. Like, I know I'm not going to be able to get that from my family. And that was such a seed of, I'm always going to have to work hard for what I want. In that moment, as a young, transitioning into, being a teenager, I knew from then on that I was always going to have to work hard for what I wanted. And that was nothing against my family, because the thing that I've noticed, or the thing that I've realized as I've gotten older, is we can't ask more from someone than what they are able to give us, whether or not that's finances, whether or not it's emotions, as far as like love and respect and things. If they're not able to give that, then you can't ask that from them. You can't take it from them. So it's really important to realize that, hold on, my medical assistant just walked in. Okay. So it's really important to identify who is it that you're dealing with, and are they able to give you the things that you need. And if they're not, you got to understand that they're not able to do that. So that's a part of the wealth management, whether or not it's emotions, finances, time. You have to realize you first have to identify what's important to you. And then after that, you can identify how to get it, where to get it, who is it going to come from. It doesn't need to come from anybody, because at the end of the day, we still are the creators of our own reality. So we have to be willing to put in the type of effort that we want people to get back to us, and realize that sometimes people aren't able to do that. So having said that, from then on, I started working at, once I got into middle school, and at 16, I started working at McDonald's. And again, it was what wealth meant to me was being self-sufficient and being able to not have to ask anybody for anything. Which we'll get in later on, because that turned into a whole nother, I don't like asking for people for things. So at 16, I worked at McDonald's. I was able to purchase my own car. My first car was a 1979 Ford Futura. I remember that, and it had an A-track player in it, and obviously they don't make those type of cars anymore. But my second car ended up being like a 1993 Cadillac Fleetwood Brougham, and I was about 17 years old. And again, I worked hard for it, and I made sure that, because no one was going to put gas in it for me, no one was going to pay the insurance, or so I made sure that I was able to do all of those things. At this point, I think the lesson that I would like to give, having been obviously so many years ago that really influenced how I am now in terms of my view of money, wealth, and financial literacy, is probably the best way to put it, is you need to know what it means to you. And some people, they like to go out and they like to spend money on cars and shoes and clothes, and that has never been my thing. If anything, if someone was like, hey, listen, you should buy the new phone, I would go buy a house before I go buy a new phone, because that was what was important to me. And it still is more important to me, actually. So creating a budget for yourself. So the first thing is creating a budget for yourself. identifying what wealth means to you, whether or not it's financial freedom, time freedom, because obviously money can allow for you to be able to have those freedoms. Just make a list. What's the most important thing to you in your life? And then focus on making that happen. So one of the things that my financial advisor asked me recently was, what are my goals? Like, do I have a retirement goal? How much money do I want to make? All of those things. And the only thing that I could tell him is that I wanted a beach house. That was it. Out of all the things that I've done in the last, almost 40 years, the only thing that I could come up with is I want a beach house. And he said, okay, well, you can get that. That's fine. But when you're 60 or 70 or 50 and you have a beach house, what does that mean for you? And so I realized him asking that question made me think about, it's not really the beach house that I want. It's actually it's the feeling of freedom. It's being able to say, okay, if I don't want to have to go to work, I don't have to. Although I love, being able to be creative and to help people and to be of service. And this realization just happened in the last couple of days. So just bear with me as I kind of go through this, because it's for you and it's for me. But I realized, I love going to the beach. I don't necessarily want to live there, but I want to be able to have the freedom of what it feels like when I go to the beach. So when I go to the beach, normally it's for the weekend, and I read more, I write more. I just have this feeling of kind of like completeness. And of course, people, use the beach to kind of like recharge. I'm one of those people, but I want that feeling of relaxation and stress, relief. Like, I don't want to be super stressed. So I've identified that that's what I want. I want to not have the stress. So some of the steps that I've started taking recently is, okay, are there things that I can do now to actually start to cultivate that feeling? For instance, with my rental properties, can I maybe hand that over to someone else and to manage it? Or at work, are there things that I'm adding to my plate that I don't necessarily need to? So some of the things that we need to do is identify is, okay, make your list. Once you've made that list of what's important to you, how you want to feel, what is financial freedom for you? Is there financial freedom? How do you get there? Then you start to work on that list. And that could be, okay, is there something that I can start to do now to get towards that? So that could be starting to save money. So whether or not that's, okay, I'm going to put away $200 a month, or you can open up an IRA or a HSA, that's a health savings account. There are a lot of different things that you can start to do now, especially, and I would say this to anyone who is in their like early 20s or even late teens, or even if you're a kid and you have parents and you can say, hey, I want an IRA, start putting money in it, because time is going to continue to go by. That we all know that. So you can put in even just $100 a month, and that can compound in terms of interest so that you can be able to have that financial freedom later on. Or I don't say retirement, because as we all know, a lot of people that get to retirement, they say, okay, well, now what? And then they end up going back to work or end up picking up a hobby that takes up a lot of time. So I would say, what does financial freedom look like? Is that at 30? Is it at 20? Is it at 50? Is it at 60? Is it at 70? Those questions are something that you have to answer, not something that anybody else can answer. But we can help you, just like my financial advisor helped me, to work through that. So I'm really excited to have different topics every week or every 2 weeks about what that means, whether or not it's financial freedom, investments, starting your own business, taking a deep dive into my life experiences. I'm super excited to bring that to you. So go ahead, click the like button if this was helpful in some way. Also go ahead and subscribe. So my first goal, because this is really my first post on financial freedom and wealth management, is to get to at least 50 subscribers. That's what I'm looking for. And I'm excited to imagine like what it looks like maybe a few years from now, to where I'm at like 1 million subscribers. That's going to be my ultimate goal, is at least 1 million. I've seen people get those plaques in the mail and it says, oh, you've reached 1 million subscribers. So that's my goal. I hope that you have a great day and the best week ever. And you can always go to my website. It's sorry, I have a call coming in, but you can always email me at nurseselena@gmail.com. And then also I'll be putting my website information down here at the bottom. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments and I will be sure to get back to them. And like I said, I hope you have the best day and an even better week. Bye.